An inside look at the president's private residence. Reporters from Time magazine were granted rare access to the White House. President Trump, after hours, getting a closer look at everything from his new flat screen TV to Twitter to what they bring him for dinner.
It starts with a sound you don't expect inside the most famous home in America, a deep metallic thud, followed by the slow exhale of a pressurized seal locking into place. Somewhere beneath the floorboards of the White House, a heavy steel door settles shut. If you've ever wondered what lies beyond the hallways shown on TV, or the rooms polished for official tours, this is where things start to get interesting. Behind these locked doors, some hidden in plain sight, some tucked in forgotten corners, are spaces filled with history, purpose, and stories that rarely reach the surface. Rumors swirl about an abandoned underground pool, a secretive bunker built during wartime, and even an old bedroom where people swear they've seen something or someone. And right now, the question that matters most is this: what would these locked rooms reveal if we were finally allowed to step inside? So let's do exactly that. Flashlight in hand, curiosity turned all the way up, we're going past the velvet ropes into the White House as it truly is. The first thing that really hits you before any hidden door even opens is just how big the White House actually is. From the outside, it looks formal and balanced, almost simple. But once you step in, it stretches out in every direction. There are 132 rooms spread over 6 levels, and each floor has its own rhythm. Most people only ever see the polished spots that show up on TV. The East Room during a ceremony, the State Dining Room decorated for a holiday, maybe a quick look at the Oval Office in a news clip. That's the highlight reel, but the rest of the building is a whole different world. Behind the scenes are rooms built for everyday work, like small offices, kitchens, studios, repair shops, and long hallways that twist under the main floors. They're not dramatic secret passages or hidden trapdoors, but practical spaces that stay closed because they're busy places. As you walk farther in, you start to see the difference between the White House everyone knows and the version that actually keeps things moving. One is the symbol you grew up seeing on TV. The other is a living place where people work, plan, cook, fix things, and sometimes face moments that end up in history books. You stop at the first unmarked door and rest your hand on the knob. The metal feels cool and solid, and there's this small shift in your thinking, because once you step through, you know you won't picture the White House the same way again. The first locked door you open doesn't reveal anything glamorous. Instead, you step into a small workroom in the East Wing, the graphics and calligraphy office. A handful of staff sit at long tables, completely focused, dipping pens into tiny bottles of ink and writing out invitations, menus, place cards, and anything else that needs that elegant White House handwriting. It's calm in here, almost peaceful, and it's funny to realize that the fancy place settings people admire upstairs all start out in this quiet little corner, surrounded by paper, nibs, and careful strokes of ink. It's one of those moments that reminds you the White House runs on a lot of behind-the-scenes effort most visitors never think about. Follow the hallway a bit farther, and the next locked door opens into something completely different. The White House Family Theater. It's a cozy space with red seats and a projector pointed at a small screen, almost like a private vintage movie house. Franklin D. Roosevelt turned what used to be a cloakroom into this theater, and every president since has used it. Keep going, and you eventually end up several floors down, where an unexpected space waits behind yet another door, the presidential bowling alley. It's a single narrow lane tucked beneath the north portico, originally installed for Harry Truman back in 1947, and later moved underground. The polished wood, the distinct bowling alley scent, and the simplicity of it all feel surprisingly nostalgic. You can almost imagine a president standing here late at night, rolling a ball down the lane to clear their head. So far, the hidden rooms feel quirky and fun, almost like small surprises tucked into a very serious building. But as you head toward the lower levels, the atmosphere shifts again. Down on the ground floor of the residence, the halls feel busier and more purposeful. This is where the White House's behind-the-scenes daily work really happens. Open one door, and the smell hits immediately. Warm chocolate, baked sugar, and all the ingredients that make up the desserts served at state dinners and holiday events. This is the chocolate shop, the pastry kitchen that also creates the famous gingerbread house every Christmas. A little farther down the hall is another room that feels like stepping into a garden. This is the White House flower shop, where buckets of roses, lilies, tulips, and seasonal blooms line the walls. Florists work quietly on arrangements that will eventually brighten the rooms upstairs. It's a colorful, creative space, and you realize how many hands contribute to the polished look people admire during tours and televised events. Ascending to the private floors. Back on the residence floors, you reach the Lincoln bedroom. Dark wood, deep colors, and quiet stillness give the room a weight that makes you pause. Lincoln never slept here, but he used it as an office, and that history lingers. Stories follow the room, too. Churchill reportedly felt a presence by the fireplace, and staff and guests have had small, unexplained moments over the years, with dim lights and long shadows. It's easy to feel the history in the corners. A floor higher is the solarium, bright by day and cozy by night. Presidents' families have used it as a lounge, playroom, or quiet retreat, but it has seen history too. Nixon told his family he would resign here, and Nancy Reagan learned of the attempt on her husband's life in the same space. Soft furniture and sunlight frame moments that mix everyday life with decisions that shaped the nation. A secret hiding in plain sight. Beneath the familiar press briefing room lies Franklin D. Roosevelt's indoor pool. Built in 1933 for his polio therapy, Kennedy swam here often, and Nixon later covered it to create the briefing space. Today it sits empty, sometimes used for storage, a quiet reminder of the layers of history hidden in the White House. Nearby is the Situation Room, a suite of secure conference and communication spaces under the West Wing. In May 2011, President Obama and his team followed the bin Laden mission here, every second tense and focused. Even deeper is the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, built during World War II to protect the nation's leaders. On September 11th, officials rushed through its corridors, phones ringing, screens flashing, handling crises under intense pressure. These rooms are designed for moments where every choice matters. The final hidden space is personal. The night before his resignation, Nixon spent time alone in the Lincoln sitting room, a small study lined with portraits of past presidents. The lamps glowed softly as he sat quietly, reflecting and seeking guidance. Moments like this show that the White House is also a place for private thought. The last hidden space takes you farther underground than anything else in the White House. An elevator carries you down past the PEOC and the old pool. Deeper than most people realize, the property even extends. The walls get thicker with each level, the air stiller, the space quieter. This is the modern deep-level bunker, built in the early 2000s as a secure refuge in case of serious emergencies. Very few people have ever been inside. The rooms are simple and functional. They have independent air systems, food and water supplies, and a command area capable of supporting government leadership if a crisis ever hits. There are no secret tunnels to the Capitol or hidden passageways like in the movies. What exists is practical, well-planned, and designed for survival rather than spectacle. It shows that some of the most important spaces in the White House are completely hidden, quietly ready for whatever may come. You make your way back up, moving past the blast doors and the Situation Room, through the basement corridor, still carrying the faint smells of chocolate and flowers, up the residence stairs, and finally out into the fresh air of the North Portico, or the quiet green of the Rose Garden. The White House feels different now, not bigger or grander, but deeper. Each room you've seen adds another layer to the building, showing that behind its familiar exterior lies a network of spaces full of work, history, and quiet moments that most people never notice. The White House is both a stage and a shelter, a public symbol and a private refuge. For every chandelier-lit room, There are hidden spaces where work is done, leaders find quiet, and history quietly unfolds. In the end, the locked rooms remind us that history isn't only made in public. It's also shaped in the hidden corners and underground spaces where only a few ever stand. Rooms kept closed not to hide secrets, but to protect the people carrying them forward.